Hi there, and welcome to Sip Sip Hooray, the podcast where we aim to make wine fun. We keep it real and down to earth, and there's nothing that we like better than meeting interesting people who are making their mark in the wine world. We are lucky to have just such a guest with us today. Her name is Julia Coney, and I think you're going to enjoy getting to know her. We are the two Marys who like to eat, drink, and be merry. I'm Mary Babbitt.
I'm the other Mary, Mary Orlin, and we are so thrilled Julia Coney has found time in her super busy schedule to join us. Julia and I met 2 years ago as fellows at the Professional Wine Writer Symposium in Napa Valley at Meadowood. And when we discovered we had a mutual love of perfume, we really hit it off. And Julia's career is so interesting. She worked in the beauty field, beauty space. She had a blog called All About the Pretty. She's lived in Paris, and she loves champagne more than anybody else I know. But she's also had such an amazing career in the short time that she's been in the wine industry, and she is truly making a difference, bringing attention to diversity issues, to making sure that all voices are heard, that all people are lifted up and have an opportunity in the wine world. So we are going to have an awesome discussion. And Julia, thanks for joining us. Welcome to Sip Sip Hooray.
Thank you for having me.
We are really delighted to have you with us today. And I thought it would be a fun place to start with something I read on your Instagram where you say, blessed to be a blessing. Tell us about that, where you got that and how that expression helps direct your life.
Well, I heard that saying all my life. That was the saying my mother, who is no longer with us, she was a teacher. And it was like a family saying, like, you're not just here to work and do your own thing. You're here to help someone else. And we are fortunate to have been blessed to have existed in this world, have a healthy life. So you take that. And so with that, you're blessed to be a blessing, whatever that means for you.
I love it. Words to live by.
Absolutely. So Julia, you have been super busy since I met you. And one of the major things that you have done in the past year is you started Black Wine Professionals. So can you tell us about that and what inspired you to start that?
Well, I started Black Wine Professionals in June of 2020 after the killing of George Floyd. And honestly, I think somewhere in my sensory perception, it was in the back of my mind for years working in the industry, being told that from different wine makers, wine PR, wine marketers, that they just didn't know many Black wine professionals in the business. And it was on the day that it was Blackout Tuesday, and I really felt like there was so much silence from the wine industry, and even a couple of days afterwards, not speaking about it and not realizing the problem with systemic racism in this country, and realizing that wine is an industry and it has issues. And I just been talking about it since 2018 for 2 straight years about there's a problem. We're missing consumers. We're missing other professionals. Having people tell me they left the business because they just couldn't stand the racism. And it was just heartfelt. I did not think that when I did that Instagram live, I was going to create something. It wasn't until I realized in the middle of the night that I couldn't sleep. So many people that I know are often overlooked. So many people kept getting accesses to media trips and trade trips and distributor trips and conferences. And I would be sometimes the only Black person, or on these trips, there would be no Black people, but it would be people who had consistently gone every month on a fully, paid for trip, and they didn't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is enough to go around. And that's what my talk was. There's enough to go around. It wasn't like I needed to be the only person, but I've just watched so much happen, and I just knew I had to speak loudly again. And so that's where Black Wine Professionals was born out of.
Well, I can remember you telling me stories about when you go to professional tastings and often being the only African American person in the room, but the way that you were often treated, that you would get a much smaller pour than somebody else standing next to you at the same table, or that
What?
people would mistake you for the help and ask you, "Oh, where can I get water? Where's the bathroom?" I mean things that,
Oh my
you
God.
know, Mary and I have had different experiences. I mean, being women, we've
Mhm.
faced some discrimination as well, but not to the extent that our brothers and sisters in the, the BIPOC community have faced. And, so I'd like, you know, how do we have a discussion about bridging those differences and making sure that those types of things don't happen?
Well, I always like to say, if you see something, say something. A lot of
Hmm.
the incidents that happened to me, there were people standing around. There were people who heard it. There were people
And
who
didn't
it
speak
didn't
up.
speak up.
Hmm.
So when I'm at a tasting and the winemaker is pouring wine for a gentleman, and when
Mm-hmm.
I get to the table, tell me the wine is empty, the bottle is
Oh,
empty, and the other gentleman is just standing there, and I walk away, and the gentleman pulls the bottle back out.
oh
That happened to
no.
me in more than one occasion, and
Oh
it
no.
is having to say something, understanding that it is uncomfortable, but it's not, there's creating a safe space, but there's also having a brave space. And we need brave people. We need brave people to stand up. And it goes to the same if we see someone speaking inappropriately to a younger woman, right? At a
Mm-hmm.
tasting, at one of these events, very highly inappropriate. It's us as older women to stand up and say something and say that, no, you can't say that. That's wrong. And I understand that is very hard to do because it can feel like you're being nosy, right? You're being pushy. But I guarantee you, when you say it, the person who is on that receiving end really will thank you because sometimes other people don't have a voice to speak for themselves.
Oh, I love that, Julia. And thank you for reminding us to be brave. It is not enough to silently witness something. You got to step in and step up.
Yes.
Um, speaking of racial equity, the wine world has traditionally been so very, very white. What are this is quite a mountain to climb, but what are some of the changes we need to see to try to bring more equity to this industry?
Well, I mean, it also too depends on where you live, right? Like I've
Hmm.
gone to California wine country and I've been in those tasting rooms where, I walk in, I want to talk to, taste the wine. And I've been told, oh, do you know what aeration is? While the person is aerating my glass, mind you, they pour the wine, they take my glass, they aerate my glass. And I just stand there and just wait until they're done and go, would you do that to any other person?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you do that? So it is not just like the heads of companies, it's also the staff, the tasting room staff at some of these wineries. You see, everyone knows wine is an alcoholic product. After a while, a lot of us get loud. Doesn't have anything to do with race. We're having a good time. We're having a
Exactly.
great time.
Right.
But usually it's
Mm-hmm.
the people who are people of color that they're told to be quiet, that they're told to be silent. You're speaking too loud. And no one's realizing that everybody's speaking loud.
Yes, and some groups louder than some of the people of color.
People of color, exactly. But no one ever tells you that.
That's true. That's very true. So yeah, it's really, but I'm hoping that all the awareness on this, the spotlight, is making
Hmm.
people pay attention more. And hopefully this will bring about some much needed change.
I think it's bringing attention. I think the change is coming. The change is also slow,
Mm-hmm.
and especially in an industry that likes to move at a snail's pace
So
Hmm.
true.
on all
So
things.
true.
So we're
Yeah.
just
So
on
true.
all
So
things.
true.
And it's, with technology changing so rapidly and so quickly, and technology is where we're capturing a lot of things as well. the industry has to move with that.
Mhm.
They have to move that regarding diversity. They have to move with that regarding younger consumers. They have to move that with like also sales. Like how, like at the, we talk about wine is fun, but it's still a business, right?
Mhm.
And how much more money could you make by also being uncomfortable in breaking out in different arenas? How to appeal to young people, how to appeal to people of a certain age with discretionary income, as well as maintaining your baby boomers who actually created the business.
Well, what's always baffled me is, why does the wine industry ignore certain parts of the population instead of trying to bring them into the tent and introduce them to wine? Why do they ignore the Hispanic market, the Black market? It just didn't make sense to me.
Well, it's as if the linkage of luxury equals white, which isn't fair.
Yes.
And it's, time to
Exactly.
change that.
Luxury is seen, and when we look at the definition of luxury, is not money. The luxury is in the light is a lifestyle you create for yourself. It's luxurious to sleep 8 hours. That's a luxury, right?
right.
If you're not sleeping 8 hours. But I like to say that the industry, and it goes back to what you said, Mary, luxury and people of color are not the same unless people of color are there to entertain you.
Oh, no.
Luxury is an athlete.
Yeah.
Luxury is a celebrity.
Mhm.
Luxury is not the person with the 9-to-5 job who every Friday just wants to try a different wine and wants to engage and wants to learn. Maybe they're not into moving into it as a business, but they know what they want to drink and they know what they want to eat. And we're also, if you look at the word luxury of wine as it relates to cuisine, and I've been speaking a lot about this. If you're going to the Latina culture, you have to talk about tacos and tortillas and not the fancy tacos that cost a lot of money. We're talking what people eat in their home, about seasonings like sofrito. If we're talking about Black people, we never see cuisine. We see Southern food co-opted by a lot of white chefs, but we never see that paired with wine. It's never, those cuisines are never paired with wine, right? Yeah. We talk about wine from this European aesthetic of food. And also we have to remember, a lot of the people who talk about wine or write about wine in different places, or even before the pandemic, the sons that sold the wine, a lot of them had never been to Europe. So they're pulling things out of a textbook that doesn't relate to what we're doing.
That's interesting.
That works. If you're at a fine dining French restaurant, yes, those wines go with that. But if you're at In-N-Out too, I don't know, really, Cab Franc can go with that as well. But we're not talking about Cab Franc and In-N-Out.
That's true.
because the burger didn't cost $35.
But we should be talking about that.
But we should be talking about
it. And it's also true. I have many friends who are of Asian background, and I love Asian food. And, they're really... you don't see those flavors like shiso leaf and Thai basil and all these
kaffir lime.
Yeah, kaffir and Sichuan peppercorns. I mean, you don't really see people doing wine pairings with those flavors, but they're so predominant in those cuisines. And those cuisines are, just think about the Chinese cuisine. There's like 35 regions in China, and they all have specialty flavors. And, wine can work with them, but who's
missing a market?
Yeah,
exactly.
Julia, you had on your Instagram the other day a picture of you wearing a T-shirt that said, "Have you thanked a Black woman today?" Yes. And, and reading the comments and everything and what you wrote then, you expressed being tired of too many asks, and maybe tired of having to carry the burden of, educating people and awakening people. Can you talk to us about that? And, you are moving the needle, but that's a big ask of you on a daily basis.
Yes. There's not a day that I don't get hundreds of direct messages and emails pointing out racist behavior on the internet. Just one. And you should say something. And I have to say, I already have a dog in the fight. I can't spit.
The email asks you to say something.
Ask me to say something. Ask me to. And a lot of times they're from white people. And I'm going, why don't you say something?
Yeah.
because I'm already doing the work. It is, it's like if there is, and the reason why I say that is when, we think about the past election cycle and we're talking about Georgia, right? And we're talking about what Stacey Abrams did, but we're also talking about this new bill that had just passed with the Georgia voting rights.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the outrage for white people? From white people who should be really going, we need to really talk about this, not just when it's a presidential election, because this is now going to affect all the elections. And then that bill is being passed around all these other states. I just see more Black people, more people of color really trying to fight it. And don't get me wrong, I see white people, but not to the fervor of what it was when we had the 2016 election compared to the pussy hats.
Sure.
Yep. Agreed. You're right. You're absolutely right.
So the shirt is, and even when people, I've heard celebrities will say, well, like things like, well, Beyonce should do this. Why can't you do it? Like, why are you calling on someone to do something?
Yeah.
We each can do something. And that is what that's the blessed to be a blessing. We each can do something. Everybody can write a letter. Everybody can write an email. Everybody can pick up the phone and call and make a complaint.
I think people don't realize they have that power.
Well, are you sure they don't realize it, or they're saying it's not my fight?
Yeah, I think that's more it.
that can be.
Someone else will do it. I don't have to. I'm going to tell Julia to do that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to email Julia on that.
Or people tell me I get messages like, oh, did you see this? And I'm like, no, because I haven't been on my phone because I was on 6 Zoom meetings from 10 a.m. until 7. No, I didn't see this. Okay, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of all those Zooms, you are super busy. I understand you are studying.
You know what? I don't say busy.
What do you say?
I don't say busy.
What do you say?
I say I have a full life.
Okay, you have a very full life because...
You know why? Because the word busy, it gets a bad connotation. And I understand why people say that. I have a very full life. And what that full life means, I have a really packed schedule. Mm-hmm. But busy, people say, well, I'm so busy. And then we pinpoint it. To me, it's full.
Yeah.
I like that. So with your full life, what do you do to take care of yourself, and what do you do to let off steam or just, recharge?
Okay, so I am a big believer in exercise. I practice yoga and I practice Tracy Anderson method. Those two are things I currently need right now in my body before I've done running and different exercises. So for the past year, those have been the two consistents every single day. I promise myself I can't talk to anybody if I don't take 30 minutes to exercise. Mm-hmm. That's like my golden rule. And I love to read. So I do enjoy, I like mystery thrillers. I like any kind of murder suspense, something happened, from childhood and somebody come back. I love all those kind of books. And one of the things I actually have been doing for relaxation is getting back into watching beauty YouTube videos. Not beauty videos about the makeup. I'm really obsessed with the skincare ones because to me, it's very calming to hear those terms. And so it goes back to something I still enjoy, that I listen to that. And also too, I still play around with my fragrances and all that. It makes me very happy. And one of the things I know, Mary and I talked about it, is I'm so happy I can wear fragrance, because in the wine world, you can't usually wear fragrances to tastings. And so now I'm like, I'm gonna wear this in the morning. I'm gonna wear this to bed. I'm just so happy. I don't have to be around anybody. I don't have to worry about if anybody's not smelling what they should smell in their glass, because I have, and I don't wear fragrance when I'm tasting those, but it's really nice to be home and throw that out.
I have
you and Mary Orlin have that in common. You're both lovers of fragrance.
Well, I have been doing the same thing, Julia. I've also been discovering all of those skincare and beauty videos on YouTube that I never had time for before. And I've been doing a lot of Zooms with a particular fragrance group, and it's almost like an every week thing now, but it's just been a great way to play. And what I have been doing during COVID is, yes, I've gone to my perfume closet, which isn't quite as big as my wine collection, but it's pretty big. And I've been choosing, okay, I'll try this, and this. And I've been rediscovering scents, and it's totally reignited that part of my life, which I love.
Mm-hmm. it's not only that, it's just, it takes your breath,
Right.
mind away, right? And the reason why I say that is because now we have another
Hmm.
olfactory thing that isn't wine work, that is just okay. And also, I think I'm more imagining like, oh, I could be in the fields of Provence smelling lavender.
Mhm.
So it just makes me think of a total different thing.
Julia, speaking of your full life, and I love hearing how you unwind a little because I think those are inspiring ideas for everybody, right? I'm now you guys have
Mhm.
piqued my curiosity about these skincare videos I'm missing out on, but give us a kind of a thumbnail of a typical week for you. I know you are a writer, and you have a ton of speaking engagements. You, as you said, a lot of asks. So give us kind of a look at what do you have in a typical week on your agenda?
Okay. So Sundays and Wednesdays, I also work part time in a wine store. So a lot of people like probably don't even
Mm.
realize that. So Sunday mornings are usually I call it my facial days. I give myself a facial before I go to the wine store. That's when I do like a triple facial. I also do microdermaplaning on myself, um, do mask, and then I go to work from 12 to 6. Sunday nights are usually the night I'm kind of like figuring out like the week. And I am not a person that picks clothing based on how I feel. I kind of pick clothing of what I have for the week. And I pull out all the outfits I'm gonna wear the entire week. I don't like to wake up and think like, how am I feeling? I
Hmm.
use fragrance for that. I don't use clothing
Hmm.
for that. And so Mondays are, 6 a.m. I'm doing a workout between 6 and 7. 7 to 8 is usually and I get fully dressed. Like I do face, I put makeup on, I put clothes on, shower and all that stuff. And I'm usually at my desk either writing, talking from 9 a.m. Sometimes to 8 or 9 p.m.
Oh,
Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays.
Okay, so what do you do on Wednesdays?
On Wednesdays, I kind of catch up with all like the emails that I needed to really,
Mm-hmm.
really go
mhm.
through. And then I work at the wine store
Wow.
from 12
I
to
knew
8.
you worked at a wine store, and I was wondering if you still did it. And it brings me to the perspective you have on the wine industry is more rounded than for many journalists because, I haven't worked in the retail space. I so I think you have that interaction with real people who are drinking and buying wine. And so, how does that inform what you look for when you are doing stories or you are tasting or you are visiting wineries?
I think of the people who, in the one store I work at is near a college. So I think of the young 21-year-old junior and they are on a budget. Then I think of the young couple, maybe with the kids, and all they're trying to do is bottle buy wine, get pizza to go, get takeout, what they can have. I think of the people who, you know, are celebrating something. So for me, I always try to ask them, what are they eating? What are they thinking they want? Trying to pull things out of people. Because sometimes people think they want one thing and they actually don't, but they don't know how to say
Yeah.
it. So I always go, well, think of a place like you would like to visit. Like if you haven't been to Italy, would you like to go to Italy and visit? Yes, but I don't think I can afford Italy. Okay, but what are you trying to eat? And I like to ask the questions to get to know people because usually everyone wants to feel heard. And if I can listen to them and ask them what they want to drink, it's always fun for me.
Right, right. And how fun for them
Right? That's
to know that, that you're breaking the ice and making it easy for them to, that there isn't a price point at which you're
exactly.
okay to be interested in wine. You know what I mean? I hate that.
No, and I tell them, I said, I can help you from $10 to 200. You just got to tell me
Yeah.
which one you want.
I love that.
And usually, sometimes they'll say, "Well, I don't like white wine." And usually, when they say that, I'm like, my job is to make you like a white wine. I want you to try this. Go across the street and get this salad. Have this dressing on it with this exact wine. And usually, they come back or they'll call the store and say, "Hey, I'll be back tomorrow to get another
Oh,
bottle."
that's fun.
It's it's fun, right? It's fun seeing what consumers want to drink because also they come in and they probably read a magazine or they heard about a celebrity drinking something and they want to just talk to us as well.
Right.
And it's been the best experience. I'll be 4-year anniversary is next month of me working there part time.
That's so great. And it's so wonderful to have non-intimidating people helping bring wine to young people, right? To the
Yes,
students.
yes,
That's wonderful. Hey, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, you're studying to get your champagne certification. Am I right on that?
yes. I take my test August 10th, I think.
Oh my goodness. So tell me about that process. How are you doing that?
Well, it's a studying of like not just a map of Champagne, but all the villages in each of, and there's also a lot of history of the Champagne region with the villages for which grapes grow in which village of the Grand Cru, Premier Cru, which ones are used like as finishing grapes. So it's a manual and it's like suggested like videos that we have to watch. It's through the Wine Scholar Guild, learning the history of Champagne, but not only Champagne, the process of Champagne, like what kind of presses they use at first, what makes this part like the Côte de Blanc so great for Chardonnay, not just a saying it's a cool climate, but at the elevation, where does the chalk go into the as part of the soil?
Wow.
Yeah, but also they have references of champagnes to buy and drink, so it's fun for me.
Of course. Of course. So, Julia, what is it about champagne that draws you in?
Okay, so my experience, like I'm like a lot of people, I've had champagne before, and it wasn't until I went to Champagne in 2016 and I had a pairing lunch at a little small restaurant in Epernay called Coney. And it was, I think, 6 or 7 courses of like snacks. It wasn't like it was a little bit of escargot, cheese, charcuterie, caviar, and they just paired it with all these champagnes I never heard of, all these grower champagnes. I know what they are now, but also local champagnes, like one-offs that were made that the grower just, him and his friends got together and just decided to make a champagne. And they were just sold it at this wine bar.
Mm.
And the pairing of all these, they had a pairing of potato chips and caviar and olives, charcuterie, and it was just so much fun that I was like, this and it was just so much joy that I said, I want to really understand bubbles. And that's when I went down a rabbit hole. And I drink a lot of other wine, but I drink mainly sparkling.
A bubbly rabbit hole. That's my kind of rabbit hole.
Yes, because the reason why you study the Champagne method, it's the most copied method around the world. But I'm not only drinking champagne. I drink sparkling. I drink cava. I drink prosecco. I drink pet nat. Pretty much, if you're gonna bubble it, make it. I'm gonna drink it.
Nice. Yeah.
So, when it comes to perfume fragrances, are there perfumes that you would consider the champagne of perfumes?
Okay, for me, the champagne of perfumes is Rouge à Dove.
Oh yes,
hands down. Hands down, it's Rouge à Dove.
His tuberose, especially.
Yes, his tuberose and his amber oud. To me, I got engaged in Egypt, and oud is one of those scents that is all over Egypt. So anytime I see an oud, even like Barreto makes an oud, I just kind of gravitate towards oud. But Rouge à Dove makes fragrance where people question what it is. They're like, it's something. I don't know who made it, but you just smell different.
It's great. Have you ever met him?
Yes, I had a
Me too.
really almost out of body experience. I met him at Bergdorf, and the first time I smelled the amber oud was I was in Bergdorf and I was passing by to his section, and the sales lady had sprayed it on for someone else. I passed it and started tearing up. My friend Sarah was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Where's that scent?" And I went over, and the woman says, "Oh, this is what this is." And she said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "I got engaged in Egypt, and this was the scent that I recognized in the hotel."
Oh, that's so
And
neat.
she said,
I
and
thought
she
you were
told me, she
tearing
said,
up because you didn't like it.
"No, I was tearing up because I loved it, and I couldn't." It just gave me all the feelings that I felt at the hotel.
Oh.
And when I came back, and she went, "Oh, well, he'll be here in 2 weeks." And I said, "No, I'm in DC, which means I had to catch a train." So I said, "Okay, I'll be back and get it." And I went back 2 weeks later on the train just to meet him. And when I was telling him the story, I started crying again.
Wow.
And he autographed the bottle for me. Like he etched it with something. And he was just like, "To all the dreams that you found on nights in Egypt. May they continue." And to me, I still have the bottle. I've had to buy more bottles since, but that was the one that just made me, who is he? I need to really research. And I had interviewed and studied with Olivier Polge and Gras. So I
Oh,
understood fragrances
okay.
and flowers. And that's when I was a beauty blogger, and I
Right.
talked to him and really understand. And that's why to me, wine is like fragrance, because that memory just comes back. And when I explain this to some wine people, they like, really? And I'm like, yes, like there is a scent, either like you remember great or bad, in, like your mom or your grandmother, something just takes you there. Wine does the same thing.
Absolutely. Well,
Mm.
um, I'll ask you this question, but I'll say this first. There's a wine that makes me cry. It's actually it's not a big, fancy wine, but there's a
Mhm.
winery called Sarah's Vineyard in south of San Jose, and I had first gone there at the beginning of my wine career, and when the winery was owned by a woman named Marilyn, and she crafted the most beautiful Chardonnays, and I hadn't had it for years until I moved to the area. And it took me a while to get down there because I was like, I don't know that it had changed ownership and would it be the same? Finally got myself to the tasting room. They poured that estate Chardonnay. I cried because
Yeah.
it brought back all those memories. So I'm wondering what wine has made you cry?
Okay. So every time I get really, really teary when I drink Camus from California. And the
Mhm.
reason why, Camus was the first wine where I understood a wine connection in food.
Hmm.
And this was the late 90s, because I grew up in Texas. And the attorney I worked for, because I was a legal assistant, he paired Texas barbecue with Camus and Clos de Vol. And I just remember mine being blown, even though I studied in France. It didn't matter, because in France, everybody drinks wine, and they're not about whether it pairs. It's just like you just have wine with lunch, you have wine with dinner. This was a just where I understood flavors actually work, and what it is about the smoke of the barbecue that was the smoke in this wine,
Mm.
the smokiness and heatiness, the element of that. So Camus is a special place, but I will say the last time I cried over a wine was 2019 in Champagne, drinking Benoit Margay's Shaman Rosé.
Mm. I don't
Nice.
I don't know the
I
wine,
don't
but
know that, but
yeah, it sounds wonderful.
it does. I'm going to tell you guys mine.
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
I'll cry for Ridge Montebello any day, because
Mm.
we
Mm.
have 4 children, and we celebrated the birth of each child with Ridge Montebello, and so that those are just super special wines. We don't have them very often, but when I do, that's like brings back all those happy memories.
So isn't that amazing though? Like how we can we can go from fragrance to farming or agricultural product, and it's still the movement of, it shows what wine is.
Well,
Mhm.
absolutely. But and perfume is also a agricultural product in a way.
Yes, it
We don't
is.
think of it, but you know, how do you get those floral, spicy notes? I mean, somebody's growing those herbs or spices or flowers, and they're
Hmm.
being distilled to make a beautiful fragrance.
Yes.
Hey, Julie, you know what I wanted to ask you about? You received, I believe it was the 2020 Visionary Award from Wine Enthusiast.
Social Visionary Award from Wine Enthusiast.
Social Visionary. Tell me about that and what that meant to you. And I mean, what a thrill, huh?
Okay, I'm gonna try not to cry, because it's one of those. When I got nominated, I was like, oh, they don't read that. It was kind of like an out of body experience. And then when
Oh,
they called and told me I got it, I just literally went to my knees. And because I think I started talking about this issue in 2018, and my mother was living at the time.
Mm.
And I remember her saying, God has called you for such a time as this. And if you don't say anything, he doesn't bring it back always. He doesn't bring the gifts back. So he's gifting you this opportunity to make change for the world after you're no longer here.
wow. Good words from mom.
And she was like, I know it's just grapes, but this grape, like this, she was like, and she doesn't even drink, right? My mom didn't even drink. She said, I know it's just grapes, but those grapes are changing people's lives. And do you want to be part of the change or
Oh.
not? And if you don't want to be, then shut up. And so in that moment, I just kept thinking, she's right. Who am I? I can't keep, if I'm going to complain, why complain? And no one's listening. I just got to step out on faith. And that's what I did. And I am so grateful and thankful. It has been hard. I mean, there are wine people who don't want to work with me, who don't want to talk with me, which is fine, because I only want to work with the ones who want to work with me and want to talk with to the ones who want to talk to me.
Wow. So you're still coming up against resistance.
Oh yeah. But guess what? You can keep resisting. There's so many people who aren't resisting. I go with the people who aren't resisting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let you get left behind.
Exactly.
That's so true. Absolutely. Oh, wow. What a great story. Your mother was so wise.
Well, it was that time of like, she paid for my first WSET courses. And she was, she came to visit me in 2015, and I had been vacillating back and forth. I did not want to do beauty anymore. That was a time, and I say this all the time, that was the Kardashians were making it very big. Everything I wanted to write about, everybody, like the ingredients in a product, everybody was like, oh, well, talk about a contour kit. And I'm like, I don't contour my face. I don't want to do that. That's not my makeup look. I get that it is someone's, but it's just not mine. It's not my preference. And I just knew that I wanted to do food and wine. So she was around for me because I had surgery, and she came from Louisiana to take care of me. And she was just like, you really don't want to do beauty. You need to figure out this wine thing, because there's so much wine in this house. The wine is like telling you to pick me. It's telling you, pick me, pick me. And I was just like, oh, it is. She's like, it's as many wines as books, as many fragrances. She said, but when you talk about it and you're reading wine books, like, it's your job, and it's not. You might as well make it your job. And that was the catalyst. Her and my husband's support was like, okay. I was like, I'm going to do this. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to take my blog down and start a whole new wine blog.
So you'd been a fashion writer before?
I was a beauty writer. I started a beauty blog in 2006. I quit my day job in 2010, and I was full time until 2016, when I literally wrote the email to every PR company I worked with and said I was no longer working in beauty. I was going to be a wine journalist.
Good for you. You talk about being brave. That's brave, Julia. That's great.
And I just felt like I applied all these skills to go from blogging to professional beauty writing. I could go from beauty writing to wine. I was already there.
Sure. I mean, it's following the passion. And I love the fact that, you already had what you needed to propel you to where you were supposed to go. And it took someone else pointing that out to you.
Exactly. But I also think, like, I started going to Bordeaux when I was 28 years old by myself. And so for years, I was going to wine regions all the time as a consumer. I just, you have a vacation. It's like friends are like, oh, let's go on a cruise. I'm like, okay, well, after the cruise, can we stay like 4 more days in Italy, and then we could just bounce over to Tuscany? So I had been drinking wine for almost 20 years in a way before I ever decided I wanted to write about it.
Well, it kind of creeps up on you. That's kind of what happened to me. I never thought wine would ever become a career when I was just going from Atlanta to Napa, and just because I loved wine and I wanted to learn more and more. I never ever imagined it would become a career and that I could get paid to do it. But it's, I think, but what a great role model for others who are, coming up in the industry and seeing that there's no one way to get into wine. It's a zigzag. It's many paths. But I think it is sheer determination.
I tell people all the time, like, I think we're taught that careers are linear, right? You go to school, you do this, and then this is your career. And like you said, Mary, like, it's a roller coaster. There's loop-de-loops, there's diagonals, there's backing up, there's going forward, there's going left. Like, everyone came to wine. Most people I know came to wine in a weird way.
Well, as you look at this next year, we've all come through such a rotten year with COVID and everything.
Oh, it was a rotten.
Ooh, it was bad.
No. Let me tell you, here's the thing. It was bad and good.
Yeah.
So there was so much bad about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many people dying, this pandemic, everything. People losing their livelihoods, so bad. But then, from what I look at it is, we all became more aware. We all got silent in a way to watch something happen bad that happened to see that we all need to step up. So yes, it was bad in so many ways, but it was a way that for all of us to get silent in order to be able to now speak on what we should do.
That is so true. We all got a little bit more self-aware, I think. We all went a little internal during the year and looked at our lives, looked at ourselves, looked at what's going on around us too.
Yeah.
Well, we also had more time to absorb all of that, because had we been living our normal lives, running around, doing all the events, doing all the social life we have, everything, all the demands, but now we were kind of stuck at home, and we had more time to actually pay attention to what was going on around us.
That's a good point. True.
And also, I will say, don't you think we also had time to enjoy the wine we actually had all over the house?
Oh, absolutely. I've been digging out all these older vintages. I'm like, oh, there's, I've been saving them, and all. I'm like, well, shoot, who knows what's going to happen next? I might as well pull out that 2001 Viognier and see how it's doing.
I think the year people put a serious dent in their wine collection.
They did, which is great though, right?
Yes.
Because what were we holding it for?
Right.
It's true. They're just getting old.
They're just getting old.
Right.
So as you look at the year ahead, and hopefully as we continue to move away from COVID and back to a normal life flow, what's on your agenda for this this year ahead? Do you have things you want to accomplish? Just going to keep doing what you're doing? Or
well, I mean, one thing I would definitely want to get my certification. That is like high on the list. Still have.
I'll be saying prayers in August.
Saying prayers. Still, I founded with this Black Wine Professionals, and we have gotten people jobs. We're hosting master classes. I'm hoping the world, when we are able to meet, to actually create a retreat, because some of the wine professionals have never even been to a vineyard. And I know, and I just want to create a retreat in a place where we're learning together in a way that actually isn't, where the nerds can feel like nerds, but the fun people like me who wear bright lipstick can also feel not judged. Oh, are they serious about wine? Make it relaxed and educational, because wine is fun, but it's also educational. And to be able to do that. And, I want to see my friends. I want to see my wine friends. I want to break bread and have dinner, but I don't want to go back to the old staid way of how we presented wine. I like this new way.
I agree with you. I'm really wondering what it looks like. Are we going to have these big trade tastings, or these, is that going to happen? I don't know that I'd feel comfortable going back to that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So one thing that you have started doing, and I don't know when you got on to this platform, but Clubhouse, you host a weekly wine down on Fridays on Clubhouse. So tell us about that.
Well, in October, a friend invited me to join Clubhouse, and I was like, okay, what's this? And when I really, she sent the invite just like a Thursday, and that Friday night, I just realized I've been in a bunch of listening to different people talk about different things, from books to mindfulness, tech startups, just having I was listening to one where there were celebrities. It was like Tiffany Haddish and Gayle King and Dr. Henry Louis Gates, and they were discussing a book. And I was thinking, where in the world will you ever be able to be a fly on the wall, right? That's what technically, when you're in the audience of Clubhouse, you're a fly on the wall listening. And I just thought, okay, I don't know one about wine that's not, really where I want to be. Like, I want to talk about wine and make it fun. So I said, I don't want to do it under Black Wine Professionals, because that's more like a business thing. I want to do it. And she was just like, yeah, because every time you talk about wine, all I can think of is like, you do it for the love of wine. And so that's why we named the Clubhouse room For the Love of Wine. So I go in and it's a wine down. I want people to tell me what they're drinking. We're talking about different. And so what I do is make a theme, right? There's a theme every month. You don't have to drink the wine, but like champagne. What do you drink? What champagne are you drinking? And what I do is also, I create a list of every wine that is mentioned by someone that comes to the stage. Not just myself.
Yeah, you said that, and I was amazed by that.
And we type it in, and because if you're talking about a wine, like if I say Ridge Monticello, right?
Yeah. Montebello.
Montebello, sorry, Montebello. Most people who are consumers don't know what Ridge is. But if I can mention it and hyperlink it in this document, then they can go click and see it.
So smart. I love that.
Because it just brings people, because people were like stopping, like, what wine? I said, and I know people are asking what wine we're drinking. And so we hyperlink everything so people on their own could just go, hey.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so fun. So how can people participate in that clubhouse? I don't know about this.
So you basically just go to Clubhouse and go follow For the Love of Wine Club. If you're on Clubhouse, just search for literally For the Love of Wine. It'll pop up as a club. Just join and you'll get a ping when, is follow the club. You just get a ping when it's time to join.
Mary Babbitt, I will invite you.
Yes.
You can be in the clubhouse.
Clubhouse is fun.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun talks on there. I mean, I know Christina Rasmussen out of London who runs Little Wine. Like she's really into biodynamic and regenerative agriculture. And she has talks on regenerative agriculture winemaking. And it's a fascinating conversation because like you'll have Dr. Jamie Good on the conversation. You have Raj Parr, you have and people, and I like to listen to those because sometimes they're like, bring Julia to the stage. And I'm like, no, I just want to listen.
Right. But it's kind of the new thing in social media.
Well,
yes.
Certainly need to explore it.
I think you would like it. I really think you would. You could get so much out of it.
So once things open up, where's the first place you are going to go?
Like when you say you open up, what do you mean? Like truly, really open up?
Truly, like when we can travel again. What's your first destination?
Either I'm going to Sonoma to see my friend Melanie or going to Champaign. But Europe is probably not going to let me in for a while. So more than likely it's going to be Sonoma.
I know. We're all counting the days, months, whatever, until we can get back to Italy, France, Spain.
Yes.
Oh,
but we'll get there, and that's the beauty.
We will. I know. So for folks who want to get involved, Julia, with what you're doing, how can they best do that?
They can reach out to me. I'm on Instagram. I'm Julia Coney on all social media platforms. I'm going to make a plug. If they want to donate, you can donate to Black Wine Professionals. There's a donate button at the top right. So to do that, and I say just email, if you want to email me, just email or DM me and I'll respond. It may take me a few minutes, a few days, but I'll eventually get to you.
And remember that t-shirt, we all need to thank a Black woman today.
Thank you. Yes.
And you don't have to carry it all on your shoulders, Julia. We all need to be brave. We all need to speak up and stand up and speak up. So thank you for showing us how it's done and like kind of being willing to lead the charge and be brave, the way you are. Your passion, your heart, energy, integrity, all of it is inspiring and infectious. And I'm super happy to have gotten to know you better today. Thanks so much for taking the time with us.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's been so much fun. And, I look forward to getting together when we can. And we have to do a big perfume sniffing experience as well.
We have to do a wine pairing with that. Yes. I know all the wine purists are going to be like, oh no, they're talking scents and wine. Oh my God.
but I do that all the time. I love pairing perfume and wine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know you do, but you know what I mean? Like
I know,
yeah.
I know. So there's one more question I wanted to ask you. So I was reading that you have a subversive way of wearing perfume when you taste wine in public.
Yes.
What is that?
I spray it on my belly button.
What?
Yeah. Spray it on your belly button.
I love it. I'm going to do that.
Because it doesn't rise as much. It's there.
So it's there. You're feeling it.
The key is knowing I feel dressed. But what I learned is you walk into it. So literally you have to spray it low.
Got it.
Yes. And also because you're spraying it low, you're walking into it. Kind of like if you were doing your hair, you walk into it with your belly button. But I will say this, if it is a rollerball fragrance, don't do it.
Oh, don't? Why not?
Roller oils are really concentrated.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's going to, it's very different than a spray. There's enough of the alcohol in the spray to kind of disperse when it's getting on the skin and it's penetrating, but I found a rollerball really is like, oh, I can really smell this.
Good to know, but I love that tip. I'm going to do it.
You guys are so funny with your fragrance.
Practical tips here on wine and perfume.
Practical tips. Yes. Yes.
Hey, Julia, good luck on the test
Thank
in
you.
August, the champagne test. And also good luck with that retreat idea. I love it. I think that's going to be a lot of fun and really, just a really great way to connect people. So good, good on you for thinking of it and good luck putting it
Thank
together.
you all so
It's
much.
been a pleasure, Julia. It's been a pleasure reconnecting virtually through this interview, and I can't wait to see you in person.
Same here. Same here.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Julia. Thanks again. Sip, sip,
Thank you.
hooray.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Sip, sip,
Cheers.
hooray, honey. Cheers. Bye.
Well, Mary Orland, I loved talking with Julia Coney. She was so fun and so knowledgeable, such a force of nature. And I love that she is bringing more people into the wine tent and working to make changes in the wine industry for Black professionals.
For Black professionals, for brown professionals, for all people of color. And, because she has experienced it, she knows what it's like, and she wants to make the industry more open and accepting for everyone. But as she said, she can't do it alone. We all have to be brave. We have to speak up, make sure people know that some behaviors are not tolerated anymore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's beyond time. So I was really happy for that conversation, and I really loved getting to know her better and to hear her perspective. um, we will continue. You'll keep hearing that name, Julia Coney, because she's going to keep making herself known and her work and making positive changes in this business. And I love that.
Right. And one of the things she said during our interview is when she's in her wine shop and she asks people, where do you want to travel to? And she picks the wine according to that. I think that's such a great thing. And, that's the way that wine professionals can help people discover something and not feel intimidated.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Well, blessed to be a blessing. She was a blessing for our show today. Sip Sip Hooray is grateful to Julia Coney. And hey, if you liked what you heard today, we invite you to follow us on social media. Tell your friends about us. We are Sip Sip Hooray Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, Sip Sip Hooray 1 on Twitter, and our website is sipsiphoooraypodcast.com.
Right. And on our website, you can listen to this episode and see all the other great episodes we've had in case you missed them. You can also see all the different platforms we are on, and we encourage you to, whatever platform you listen to your podcast, please subscribe to Sip Sip Hooray so you can get all the episodes when they drop so you don't miss a thing.
All right, Mary Orland, cheers to you, girl.
Cheers to you, Mary Babbitt, and Sip Sip Hooray.
Sip Sip Hooray.